Welcome back to the Circle of Drift podcast. Today we have a very special guest, not in the studio, but by the name of Vaughn Gittin Jr. For one, he is the founder of RTR Vehicles from back in 2009. He is a two-time Formula Drift champion, expert in Mustangs, a major partner with Ford, and runs arguably the biggest program in Formula Drift. So we're gonna get into a lot of exciting stuff with this episode. For one, the EcoBoost RTR Mustang that Vaughn just announced. It's gonna be a manufacturer car. We're gonna dig into a little bit of that and a lot of the anti-lag that comes with it. Denofa commented on it and he hates anti-lag. Knowing that you just mentioned Denofa was a part of the process, like...
Well, Denofa would rather have nitrous than,
of course,
than anti-lag.
And we'll get into why a lot of people think FD is easy to get into for some reason.
The biggest mistake that I see is thinking that they should get everything for free. Thinking that they have a value to go and ask so-and-so for a sponsorship.
And how drifting has scaled to be way bigger than probably any of us expected this fast.
This sport is just on fire, and you can feel the energy and the passion, and the product on the track is just so good, and it's just like, hell yeah, like we're doing this,
dude.
you know?
We're in gas stations now, man.
Right?
That's nuts to
Right.
me. And on top of that, Vaughn is probably one of the best people at marketing a program. So we dive into a lot of those details and how he runs his program. But before we get into it, my name is Dawson, and here on the Circle of Drift, we interview people from the highest level down to your basic grassroots level so that we can bring you the best info possible to help you on your drifting journey. So if that is interesting to you, look below the video and make sure that subscribe button is not still red. If it is, click that and hit the bell notification while you're at it so you never miss an episode. But that is enough out of me. Let's get into the podcast and hear some of the best stories and advice that Vaughn has to give.
I've been wanting this shit forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Hey. Ain't no errors, baby. It's a new era.
I wanted to start it off by asking a pretty harder question. If all of this was to disappear tomorrow, do you think you'd be able to build it back?
That's interesting. Very interesting question. If everything disappeared, I think the first thing is like I know that I would figure out whatever it is that I'm meant to be doing next. Mm-hmm. Could I build it back? I think the answer is yes, but it would be a lot harder than originally building it. You know, one of the massive benefits that I've had is being on the first wave. You know, not many people can say that they've been doing this for over 20 years.
Yeah.
And it's gotten harder to stand out in a space now where it's so easy to have channels, to curate content, to get content out and things like that. So I'm an eternal optimist. So yeah, I could build it back, but it would be a serious effort. Yeah. And that's an interesting question. I never thought about that. It would be seriously hard, but could I do it? I mean, I know the recipe.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. If you could gauge it, how long do you think it would take?
To build back to where we are right now.
Like what, 20 plus years?
I mean, this is my life.
Yeah.
You know, like I literally, you know, I was in IT, but while I was in IT, it was a means, you know, I was doing IT to basically support my, what I call a drug habit of cars. I always loved cars my whole life. And so all I ever did was work on my car.
Yeah.
And so, you know, if we're just talking about, you know, forget about RTR vehicles for a minute and building that business and just the motorsport foundation that we have. Mm-hmm. Is that where your question's coming from?
Yeah,
for the most part?
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah, I think if we were to start from ground zero and I was back grassroots drifting, trying to figure out how to make it to the team that we are today, that's a minimum 10-year effort.
Yeah.
Right. By time like you've cracked some doors open and evolved the relationship and grown the program and grown the team and figured out what works and what doesn't work and the type of energy you need and the equipment you need to use. I mean, it's a minimum 10 years. I mean, 10,000 hours.
That's crazy.
Right.
Dude.
I mean, that's the way to think about it.
It's crazy to think how long something this massive actually takes. Because I know like now that you have almost the exact plan in place of what you could do, it would still take you that long no matter what, which is a lot of that's building relationships, right?
I come from it. Like that question to me is like, I have nothing where I started.
Right.
I didn't have a pile of money. You know what I mean? Everything that I built, I built my first car on my back in my garage, my S13, SR20 powered S13 that I showed up at Formula D Atlanta in, and ran that 04 season. That was all, starting from the bottom. So like if I had $10 million, maybe I could speed that up a few years, but the knowledge and the people is really what this takes at the end of the day, right? How to build the vehicle to withstand what we put it through. First and foremost, what components to use. Yeah. How do you get there? Yeah. You got to break them. So when we were starting in 04, no one knew. We weren't even like a third of the horsepower we are today. So you know what I mean? So it's just that evolution, and then the type of people that you need, and understanding, how to staff a team that can consistently be successful, can consistently support each other on the road and through the tough times, and all of that, man. It's just so much bigger than I think anyone imagined, including myself, up until, the last 5-10 years.
Oh, yeah. Well, speaking on, I guess, all of the details that come along with that, what would you identify as probably the key to success within the automotive industry? I know that's probably hard to pinpoint,
I think there's a lot of things in, right? So like, I'll go from motorsport, from the motorsport perspective, right? Because I think, RTR vehicles, obviously, that's a business that you need to have good product. People need to vibe with what you're doing, right? That's a separate thing, like a product company and a car and a vehicle company. But from motorsport, which I think is where your mindset is, the single most important thing is your reputation and your audience, right? And I think that just starts from a core of being you.
Yeah.
And doing things that are authentically yourself, that people that are like-minded, that are on your vibe, that are into the things that you're into will naturally attract to. People attract to passion, people attract to fun, people attract to things that they relate to. And so that, I think right now, and the way that the game works these days is that, because that grows the foundation for everything, which is your audience, which is your people. And that is the value that you have to walk into a Ford or a Monster or Penzel or Nitto and even have a halfway serious conversation about a partnership.
Yeah.
You have to have something to offer to people. And at the end of the day, here now, all you really have to offer is your audience, right? And that audience is your audience. That is the audience of the places that you play, right? Grid Life, Hyperfast, Formula Drift, what their audience is. And so all of that becomes your value proposition. And unless you're independently wealthy or you got a rich uncle that wants to blow a bunch of money on motorsport, you're building it yourself.
When you get to the point of noticing those things to be valuable?
Let's rephrase that. When do you get to the point? When did I notice what was valuable, or when does somebody that's starting?
We'll go off your personal perspective, personal experience.
Well, so for me, I've been doing this obviously since I started drifting in like 2002. So things have changed since then, right? But the basis of the business behind motorsport is the same. Educate, exposure, create vibe and fun and brand preference. That's it, right? That's marketing. Yeah. So from 2004 till whenever Facebook came out and YouTube came, would have been magazines. So
that is true.
The value proposition that I had early on and how I was able to do something early on and create value was that a lot of my partners were doing magazine ads. And those magazine ads were $2,000, $5,000, $7,000 each.
No way.
So what I would do is I'd create a structure that was like, okay, I knew so-and-so was doing X and I knew so-and-so was doing Y. So I go into a partner and be like, hey, you're going to be a part of, your logo will be a part of hundreds of thousands of dollars of media buys. I need 10 grand, I need 20 grand, whatever the number is that we're talking. So I developed my program kind of piggybacking on some of my core partners back then. Now it's, the mindset is the same, but the avenue,
the range of opportunities
is different, right? Because now you've got, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, partners, collaborating with others that have large audiences. And so it's still the same mindset. How can I get my partners seen the most? And for me, it's always been by using my passion and fun as a compass. I'm not interested in getting into things that I don't want to do just to try to make a buck or just to try to get the views. So I rely on what I started this out with by saying, being yourself, doing the stuff that you love, and relying on others to be attracted to that, other like-minded people to be attracted to that. And so, and when did it become like a business mindset for me? Day one. Yeah. Because I paid all my own bills. I built my car. I knew it was not sustainable.
You understood the value of money at that point. Yeah.
I knew it was not sustainable to do it myself. So immediately, even before I had that first Formula D, I was out at trade shows. A lot of people don't know the story of how I got my first ride with Falcon. I was making a name for myself out here on the East Coast, and I got invited out to the Nopi Nationals in 2003 at California Speedway. And I maxed out my credit card, shipped my S13 to Kaz. It didn't have a cage in it yet. I shipped it out to Kaz. I had them install a two-way differential. I flew out to California, got a taxi. There's no Uber. Got a taxi to Kaz, picked up my S13, stopped at a church parking lot on the way to the track, tested out the diff, and then went to California Speedway. But I didn't just show up to drive. I showed up with proposals. I walked around every vendor in that area at the event, introduced myself, gave them a deck, showed them what I was about to do, with FD and 04. And a couple weeks later, that's when Falcon called me, and that's when that relationship started. Yeah. And then it took me years to pay off that max out credit card. You know what I mean? But that was my, I'm doing this. I left Maryland, but I'd never been to California. Right. I never shipped my car, anywhere. I was always just going back and forth to E-Town. Yeah. And little local events. And so, that's when I realized that, that I had the opportunity. I saw it. I was still in IT, but I was like, I'm doing this. Yeah. And I would head down and chased it.
So a lot of successful people always mention that being able to take the risks and stuff like that is what will differentiate you from the others in the industry or whatever niche you're in. Is stuff like that what people mean by taking the risk and the jump? Because I understand you were paying all your bills, stuff like that, but some people may just genuinely not be in a position to take out that much of credit or, make that big trip to California or so on and so forth. So, we're talking, it was, $8,000, but that was a crazy amount of money for me back then in 04. I was 25, 24 years old. Probably. Yeah. Is that what they mean by taking the risk? That is one risk. I think the biggest thing that, that what you hear with that is it's really easy to get comfortable, right? It's really easy to get comfortable in your job, and this is what I do. And humans are very easy to get into a routine, and comfort is really the easiest thing to connect with. And so when you're thinking about the things that you really want to do, there's a fear of what happens to your comfort. And that for me was the biggest thing that I had to overcome when I was making the decision to quit my job in 2007. I was 27 years old. I was making, $85,000 a year,
plus, $25,000 a year bonuses, being a computer nerd. I was making really good money for that time in my life. And the drift side, I wasn't even bringing in near half of that, but that's where my passion was.
Yeah.
And I got to a point where I was like, I got half my foot in IT as like a means to like support my passion. And then I have my other foot in my passion. And if I keep straddling it, I'm never going to be able to get to where I want to go.
Yeah.
And so what am I scared of? And I was scared of all the things anyone's scared of is like, well, I have this comfort. I can live the rest of my life and like have a great career doing this. And this is like, this could flop tomorrow, but it's just like listening to your heart, you know what I mean? And I didn't know the things that I know now, but what I know now is that the fear is always going to be there. There's always that negative self-talk. But if you follow your passion, follow your heart, follow what you truly want, that is what the universe rewards.
Absolutely.
You attract. The law of attraction is real. So what you put that energy and mindset to, you will get. And I've seen it forever.
Yeah.
And like now looking back, now that I know this, I use it. But then I'm just very grateful that I was brave enough to be like, you know what? I'm leaving this job and I'm going to go chase this. And if it doesn't work, I still got my brain.
Right. Yeah.
And so I can go back and get another job. So like, what really is the risk? So for anybody that's thinking about taking that leap into their passion, it's like, really, what are you scared of? Try it for 6 months. What's going to happen? You're going to miss a couple bills.
Yeah. Fall back.
Right. And then also, what are you willing to compromise to get that? Because that's the whole nother bigger conversation, right? People see all this and a lot of the people, especially that have come into drifting now, don't know the 20-year history, right? They see RTR as Ford and all these big brands and this and that and don't know what it's taken, to get there. And so, but what it's taken that's not seen is 40 weekends a year traveling, missing birthdays, missing Christmas, challenges, having relationships, all of those things, you know what I mean? And so, so when you're looking and having that fear of like the general basics of life, you also need to think about the bigger picture. That being said, if you are passionate about this, your job here as a human is to live your passion. Yeah. So what's getting in the way? What are you scared of? And go do it.
Yeah. Before you know it, you'll be in the position that you were sitting in your room crying about and being depressed about for so many years, and you won't even notice it.
Right.
I've looked back on times where, this is exactly where I wanted to be, and I take advantage of it. And it kind of sucks sometimes. You don't really realize the process you're in, and definitely nobody else does.
Right.
So
yeah, it's crazy. Hard until you have these experiences. You can hear it all the time. You can hear it, like you can hear these things. People say these things, but it's not until after like you've had that revelation or the experience that you're like, that's what they meant. Some people are great learners by people talking and learning from others, but some people just need the experience, and I think I'm a little bit of both, but it's a wild thing to look back on. It really, it really is, and anyone that looks back on what they're doing right now, they're 100,000% responsible for the situation that they're in. They attracted 100%. That situation.
I say that all the time.
Either by mindset or by decision or just by thoughts, So for those of you thinking about chasing your passion, I highly encourage it.
Speaking of that, I did notice on one of the videos that you've posted, I can't remember when it was, but you mentioned that you don't believe in sponsorship, only partnership.
Yeah.
Can you explain a little bit more in depth on that?
Yeah. So, to me, a sponsorship is like somebody that gives you money to sponsor you to go do something. Mm-hmm. My experience is like that doesn't exist. Like I said, a rich uncle sponsors you.
Yeah.
The things that we do in our motorsports business are partnerships. These are scenarios, right? What is a partnership? A partnership is a two-way street where my perspective of how we approach this is understanding our partner's business, them understanding our business, us understanding the core alignments and the goals that they have. We're experts at knowing how we can integrate these partners into our business and help them achieve their goals. And so it's a partnership because throughout the entire relationship, it evolves, right? Business evolves, needs evolve. And so we evolve to the needs of our partners. And sometimes things are just not a fit. Sometimes you got a big check for me, but I can't take it because I'm not confident in that I can deliver something for you. Would it be nice?
Under promise,
would it
over
work
deliver.
for a year? Probably. In the end, would I be proud of what I'm doing for you? Would you be proud of what you got from me? Probably not. And I'm just not interested in that kind of business.
Right.
And so partnership is a two-way street of two people, two groups that work together to achieve a goal. And I think sponsorship, the word sponsorship to me is more of like I'm looking for a handout.
Yeah.
And so
I hate using the word.
yeah, it's
Especially when
become
you're
a bad
talking
word
to
in
a
the
company,
industry.
man. It's
yeah,
it has a negative connotation as soon as it rolls off your tongue.
totally, because everyone's been, a lot of brands have been burned by that. And hey, I'm doing this, and I'll put a sticker on my car, and like that doesn't work these days. Yes, there's stickers on the car. There's reasons for that, but it's the stuff that you do around the program, the content, the social, the education. We call it edutainment. You know, we're always trying to do education in fun ways, educating on our partner products. And so, yeah, it's a mindset. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people think that people owe them things. Well, nobody owes anyone anything.
No.
You know what I mean? Just because you have 1 million followers doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
You know, it is valuable.
Didn't mean they'll buy anything.
It's valuable if you leverage it properly and you have a true audience that trusts you and you've been authentic and they believe in you and know that you're not going to do something just for money. That is the value. That's how you build a proper, profile to influence. And, you know, for me, it was never like by design. I've just been myself forever. I've always worked with brands that I am supportive of their products. I've never endorsed anything that I'm like, I hate that I did
Or
that.
even on the fence.
Right.
Of, like,
And I certainly can understand like short term, people are desperate just trying to get tires to go to events or whatever. And they're like, whoever's going to give me dollars, I'm taking it. But like, it's
hurts you
beneficial
so
short
much.
term, but people just see right through it when it's fake. That's my biggest thing is like this industry, your audience, this stuff it needs to be on a long-term lens. And because the short term, we've seen it all come and go.
Yeah.
Right. And so, when you decide this is something that you want, you need to look at it from a long lens.
Absolutely. Well, once you have stuff like that kind of sorted out in your own space or your own head, what would you say the secret to building those relationships with the companies are?
Let's just assume, right? Honesty, integrity, the intention to deliver and do everything that you can to deliver on what you're going to promise. The key to a relationship is just like anything else, right? How do you go and meet somebody? How do you, what are you doing to get your foot in the door? And that is the key, is if you really have something to offer, get your foot in the door, right? If you know you can offer something to this brand, whatever it takes, you believe in this brand, you want to work with them, you like what they do, you love their, whatever it is, you like
Work
their
for free,
vibe,
show you're valuable.
work for something.
Yeah.
Hey, work out a program that's performance-based. Whatever the performance is that they want, is it exposure? Is it impressions? Is it sales? What is it?
So
And
finding
then-
out what they need is probably
Absolutely.
a huge priority.
When I go and talk to a partner, it's more of an interview from me to the partner. Now, yes, I have a commercial development team, but when it comes to new partnerships, I'm on pretty much every one of those calls
That's awesome.
because I want to make sure that we can, first of all, we believe in what they're doing. So I like to understand their business, how it works, what their sales channels are, everything. I want to understand the entire business. And then I want to understand their current goals as it pertains to the markets that we reach, what their wins are, what their losses are, what products they believe fit this market. I already have my ideas, but I want to hear it from the people that I'm going to be working with.
Right.
And then once I have my head wrapped around them, then usually on that same call, if I'm sharp enough that day, I will immediately pitch them back the things that fit into our program, and then we'll vibe on it. I'll try to get some kind of budget range of kind of their temperature of where they're at, and then we'll leave and build a proposal to them directly with exactly what they've asked for. Okay. I don't do blind proposals. I don't just send someone, hey, this is our this is our $100,000 program. I don't have those because it's irrelevant if you don't understand the person's business. So you need to understand their goals, right? But the building, crack the door and grow it and show them the return. And if you're getting them the return that is what they want, it's going to grow.
Yeah.
It has to, right? Because it's working for them, it's working for you. And in order for partnerships to work, it needs to keep working for both people. And so that's the way to do it. Don't go with these big grandiose ideas and walk in a meeting and slap a proposal for a couple $100,000 on the table. That doesn't work like that anymore. In fact, I've never seen it work like that.
That's
I think now that I've been in this business and I have a business in off-road and on-road, I think the only places that people come chasing with dollars is probably F1 and maybe NASCAR, but I think that's even slowing down. I don't think there's anyone that's like just chasing to get in motorsport. And it's so easy now to target an audience in digital media, right? It used to only be TV or magazines. Yeah. Now it's so easy to literally go into social and say, hey, I want this age group with these interests, and let them see your product. So what value do we have against that? And that is the key. That's what you're bringing.
Yeah.
Personality, energy, appeal, trust. You know what I mean? I'm a lot more than just a AI created ad.
Yeah.
And so, you have to understand your values and your strengths too. And the biggest thing once you get in and start playing in this industry is don't burn a bridge.
Yeah.
Don't ever not deliver on what you said. And if you do ever not deliver, make it good. Because I can assure you that guy that you're working with now, 10 years from now, you're going to see him at another company, or that girl at another company. Because this industry, although it's big dollars wise and reach wise, it is actually really small. And
that's crazy.
Not burning bridges and having a good reputation is an absolute key as well.
When you are in the process of building that relationship, you haven't quite got to the sponsorship or partnership proposal or anything like that, when do you know is the right time that the relationship is strong enough to even pitch it?
The first start is just a discussion. Hey, this is what I do. This is who I am. Right? It's an interview. It's a blind date. Right? And then you're asking and understanding them. Hey, are we a fit? Cool. What's your appetite for this year? Budget's already figured out. Or, we've got some tire budget and, we got a couple dollars for some content and stuff. Like, okay, cool. Can you give me an idea of kind of what that appetite is? Well, this is a new relationship. We'd only be interested in product this year. Give me a proposition for product. So you go back based on what you just talked about, what you understand they want, what you understand you're doing, how you can deliver to them, and put together a proposal that you can deliver on. Get the product, deliver, and then maybe next year you have the cash conversation.
Yeah.
And there's many ways to do business. There's many ways to do business in motorsport, right? One is a standard partnership. I do these things for you. I have these deliverables. You give me X for that. The other is business to business deals. If you know a company, endemic, meaning in the space that you want to be, or non-endemic, like a food company, right? If you have relationships, let's just say, for instance, if you had a relationship with a grocery store, and Monster or Beverage X or Food X was not in that grocery store, and you were able to go in and say, look, I can get you in this grocery store. I'm going to bring you millions of dollars of revenue. I would like for you to bring percentage back to my motorsports program.
Yeah.
Right. So you're helping them create a relationship. Around that relationship, you can do activations, help grow that. You can kind of become the poster child for that relationship. And so that's a business to business deal.
Yeah.
And then obviously you can do a relationship based on percentages of sales that you generate for that company. That's an easy way to start. That's an easy no-brainer to get your foot in the door. I don't traditionally do those because I have an infrastructure and it's expensive to run this infrastructure. So just to even have a connection, it costs dollars.
Yeah.
But for someone starting out to go in and say, hey, I want to have a discount code and I would like a percentage of everything that I sell. It's really easy for a company to do that because in their mindset, right? Let's just say they make 50% margin on something. Let's just say coilovers, right? For instance.
Right.
Not stating BC's margins. I don't even know the exact details of that. But let's just say someone like BC, if you went in there and you had an audience and you were going to sell $100,000 of coilovers, maybe you could go to BC and say, hey, I'm going to promote this. I'd like a 10% discount. And I would like I would like 10% of whatever I sell through my channels, through my code. So if BC is like, okay, we're going to give this guy or girl a 10% discount and a 10% cut. So they're costing them 20%. If they make 50%, they're still making 30.
Yeah.
And maybe they would have spent 20% anyway on the marketing to get that customer. So those types of value propositions are really easy no-brainers for companies in this,
Yeah. And like you were saying,
climate.
That's a good way to get your foot in the door.
Yeah. It's
just
a great
doing something
way to
like
get your
that.
foot in the door. And for someone that's just starting out, as long as you fit the brand, there's no reason that they would say no to that because you make money when they make money.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And then obviously, brands work with bigger groups like us that have massive reach for that larger exposure, for that credibility, to earn the content, that's another way. The last thing is be like a service provider, right? We have a media division. We curate content for our partners. We have an activation division. We run our tour, which has our partners integrated. Yeah. And by economy of scale, we're able to offer a value to them that is greater than if they were to try to do all the things that we're doing by themselves.
Yeah.
We become instead of a cost center, we become a cost saving center, and then they get the additional values.
Gotcha. Okay.
So partnership, business to business, the opportunity to basically be a salesperson for a company, or being a service center.
Yeah.
Those are all the things that right now I feel are of interest and potentials for how to generate a partnership.
Absolutely. Well, let's say after you get through the whole foot in the door process, smaller scale partnership, when do you start to, or I guess, how do you create the value of what your program is for the pitch?
Yeah.
Or how do you know what it's worth?
Sure. So knowing worth, right? What is something worth? Right? That's in the eye of the customer. Right? What's the value that you offer? And so, we use some metrics. We know what our value is in tangible metrics. We use a company called Hook It that does all of our social metrics. They're kind of like the Joyce Julius of TV for branding and such in content.
Yeah.
So that's one tangible metric that we have. The other is just kind of understanding what it costs to get the things that other ways, right? Okay, you want to work with RTR because you want massive brand exposure, you want to be heavy in Mustang or Ford space, or you're just looking for some great personalities to represent your brands and show them in a fun, appealing way. There's only so many people that you can do that with that would be relevant for your brand. Mm-hmm. We know what numbers, right? We know what YouTube pays and charges for, CPM.
Yeah.
So you kind of have like that as a basis of like, hey, what's the like tangible value I can give this partner back through this type of program?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's all the untangibles, right? The interaction of the track, the podcast, the collaborations with other influencers, the magazines, the TV that you're in, the live stream, all that stuff. Those are all the untangibles. And so I try to build our program to where we can deliver at a minimum 150% of the value in the tangibles, where we can show, hey, you paid X dollars and you got this just in social digital marketing, and then all the other stuff, you're welcome, bonus. But sometimes that's not possible. And so the way that I walk in and figure out value is I really like to get an appetite from the partner. Because what you want and what you need is irrelevant at some extent. It's really what they have budget for, what their interest is.
Yeah.
And so I know what I need because of my budget. But if so-and-so is only, has $25,000, $50,000 for the year, well, I know I need to get X of those partners with X of these deliverables, right? So the basis of it is, how much does it cost me to deliver the things that I'm promising?
Yeah.
That's the basis, right? That's your cost of goods, if you will. And so you have to balance up like what your internal budget is versus what you're asking for. But at the end of the day, what you're delivering is the value and what the partner has an appetite for.
Right.
So really what you're worth is irrelevant, because I could go in a meeting and know that I'm worth $1 million deal to the right person.
Such a good answer. I love that.
But if all the things that I'm offering is not what's needed, well, then my deal is only worth $50,000. Right. Yep. And then am I interested in developing a $50,000 deal for this partner? Or am I not? So those are things you have to check it against. It's like, number one, what do you want? Because at the end of the day, this is your business and you have to make it work. What do you want? What do you need? What are you willing to do to get the budget that's communicated? And then do they say yes to that?
Yeah.
And if they say no, are you willing to compromise, or is this where you're at? Right? Standard business with a partner. Hey, you need X, I need Y. You want Z from me, I need Y from you. We're not there. Maybe we reconnect. Yeah. Love to work with you. Love your brand. Maybe we just reconnect later.
Yeah, and that keeps the relationship.
Or I really need this and I'm willing to go above and beyond, and let's start here and let me prove it to you.
In that case, when would you say that a partnership has become probably more work than it's actually worth, if you've already been in it and they just keep asking and asking or something?
Yeah. It's an interesting question.
You never want to break that door down and approach that conversation.
No, but when does a partnership kind of like run its toll?
Right.
I think, in my experience, you grow, and as you grow, it gets more expensive. This is clearly a whole lot more expensive operation.
I couldn't even imagine, dude.
Than when I was running out of my shop at my house or my garage, or I was a show up paid driver for another team. And so the partnerships have to grow to enable it to happen. And if they simply can't, then you just talk about what the compromise is.
Yeah.
Hey, I can't deliver on the thing that cost me X dollars to deliver on anymore when you're only giving me Y.
Yeah.
Can we kill that out of the contract and just keep going? Okay, that's really important. Okay, I need to create some space on the car. Can we adjust your signage? Partnership. This is what I need. I'm growing. You don't have any more budget. I love you. I still want to work with you. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
You've been with me since the beginning. I don't want to outgrow you, but we need to figure out a way to
make this work.
Just adjust it a little bit, and the good thing is, like, when you do agreements, it's contracts, so contract on contract, you have the opportunity to talk about it. They have the opportunity to talk about it. They may get a new boss or get acquired and have new directives and new goals. So these things can change, I think the biggest thing is, like, you have built that relationship to have that conversation, right? You should be comfortable with your partners to talk about anything, because you're both delivering. You both have mutual value.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have the sponsorship mind, you have no right for anything because this guy just gave you money and you have a sticker on your car. You know what I mean? And there's no partnership relationship like this. So yeah, again, communication, that's it. Yeah. I'm growing. I have these great opportunities. Do you want to be a part of them? You do want to be a part of them, but you can't support at the level that I need. So now I need two of you to make this one thing happen. So how can I how can I do it?
Oh yeah. I love that. Okay. So then as far as like your average driver trying to make a program work on small scale, what is probably the biggest mistake you see most drivers make?
The biggest mistake that I see people that are just kind of starting out make is thinking that they should get everything for free. Thinking that they have a value to go and ask so-and-so for a sponsorship.
Yeah.
You need to be honest with yourself. I mean, that's the biggest mistake because if you go in and have nothing to offer, you just made yourself a fool to whoever you did that. Yeah. They're not idiots. They know what's going on. Drifting is not 20 years ago. Everybody knows what drifting is, you know, and I don't fault them because I think it's just a society thing where given the amount of content and the abilities to become a superhero from YouTube or Instagram or whatever, now is just jaded everybody. Mm-hmm. You know, everybody wants to be an influencer. Everybody just wants to get paid doing what they love.
You ask some 10-year-old, that's all they say is, I want to be a famous YouTuber and stuff.
And that's great. And do that. Yeah. Fine. But keep your reality in check. Be honest with yourself about what you really have. And then go back to what we just talked about, which is get your foot in the door. Yeah. Hey, I'm just starting out. I'm really passionate about this. I'm going to go to these 10 events. Can I get a discount on tires? Can I get a discount on shocks? Mm-hmm. I'm just trying to grow myself. I would love for you, brand X, to use me in your marketing to help me grow my brand profile. Be honest with where you're at. But just because you can go link a course at your local parking lot event does not mean that you
deserve it. Yeah.
Yeah, right. It's just not ever going to happen. Yeah. You know, and you know, and it's like everybody thinking they can be a Major League Baseball player. You know what I mean?
That was me as a kid.
And you know what? Maybe you can. Yeah. But it's also a baseball player needs a baseball glove.
It's so hard to market yourself in baseball. Well, back when there wasn't social media stuff.
Sure. So. But the player needs physical skill.
Yeah.
Needs to be seen by a scout and needs a glove and a bat. When you're in motorsport, you need
a hell of a lot more.
a hell of a lot more. And so, you know, but the perspective is like, think about if you are wanting to create a partnership or get a brand to give you money so that you can go play race cars, because that's what it starts as. No one thinks about this comprehensive business that's required.
Yeah.
What do you have? What are you offering? And if the answer is nothing, save yourself. Go to work, go cut some grass, get your tire money, go have fun, grow your audience, grow your profile, and give a reason for somebody to talk to you.
Yeah.
That's the biggest mistake everyone makes is they think, oh, I got a car and now I'm here and I'm going to, 10 Grassroots drift events and 100 people are going to see me at events. They don't care.
I didn't even start like approaching partnership stuff or anything like that until someone reached out to me first. It was, actually speaking of BC, coilovers, they reached out and wanted to I was in the middle of finishing up my car. They were like, let's get you set up on some coilovers. Oh, yeah. So I was like, wow, okay. I kind of see the vision of what this could come to. So that's a good perspective.
Yeah, and that's rare for someone to reach out, but that is a strategy now where people that are doing cool stuff in spaces that brands want to be, they'll DM you on Instagram and be like, hey, we're doing this. Are you interested? So there is an avenue that people are starting to reach out and, integrate their brand in the spaces that they want to be. Mm-hmm. And that's great because you got attention.
Yeah.
From a brand that came to you. Too. All of it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt the sport's growing. I mean, this is a golden age. Man. When I took my first year off, well, I think the only year that I took off, in 22, going to events, because when you're in it, you don't realize, you're just so in it. But when I came as my first true event as a team owner and a retired guy, I'm just wow.
Threw you back.
This sport is just on fire. And you can feel the energy and the passion, and the product on the track is just so good. And it's just hell yeah, we're doing this,
dude. More gas stations now, man.
Right.
That's nuts to me.
Right.
Go in there and you see a whole cooler with a big picture of, you or Chris Forsberg or something. Dude, that's crazy. So cool to me.
Thank you, Monster.
Right?
Yeah, it's crazy. But am I surprised? No.
Yeah.
Look at our sport. It is absolutely the coolest shit out there for the audience that has been evolved by social media.
Yeah.
Right? Quick, exciting, freaking train wreck ready to happen at any moment.
There's
Horsepower.
wrecks. Everyone loves to see a wreck.
Right. I mean,
yeah.
it's all there. Every run, and the content that comes out of it, and the snippets, and just the vibe at the events. It's
the
absolutely
most
epic.
aesthetically pleasing motorsport ever.
1,000%.
So
and it's
cool.
nonstop action, and I know, some road racers and other motorsports guys are watching. Yeah, of course, but it's tell me it's not. We're closer every
Can't argue with the proof, dog.
We're closer every single run, door to door, absolute precision, absolute speed, absolute engineering and technology and performance. And road racing, my experience of road racing is you get the moments, right? You have the moments in NASCAR, right? The last 10 laps. You have the moments in F1 when somebody's going for a pass, or, traditional road racing. And it's cool from someone that's really into it and into the strategy and into how it works. But you have to be a hardcore fan to really get into that. Where drift is you can just be breathing and be oh, it's crazy, I
mean, you hear it all the time. Half the people don't even know what's going on, but they're still there watching. They still enjoy the hell out of it. So
I don't know what's going on sometimes too. But
you're right. Well, speaking of the monster stuff and all of that, from your perspective, your program, what does a scale partnership like that even look like? Or even Ford, for example?
In what way?
So as far as deliverables or how it's just ran throughout the year.
So, Monster deal, right? Monster is title on my program. So on-road and off-road. So there's the obvious signage. There's the obvious hat program where I'm, proudly displaying I'm a Monster athlete in just about everything that I do. There is other deliverables in the contract, appearances, things like that. But really, believe it or not, Monster is probably, I don't want to say the least deliverables, because the signage and obviously it being everywhere is a big thing. But as far as what they ask of me, they're really just supportive of their athletes living their passion, because they know what that returns. Other partners,
sure shows.
Other
There's
partners,
not much, it just shows itself. The way you run it.
Things like, Ford, it's all very similar. It's these are the events that we do. That's agreed upon.
Yeah.
This is the amount of minimum social that they expect. They are very serious about social. They send reports. They show kind of how you're doing compared to others. And that's something that is a very important deliverable for them. Getting their messaging out, the things that they want your audience to know about the brand, and which I just do naturally because I love their brand. I love their products. I'm really proud of the things they're coming out with. And some of them almost feel effortless, right? Others that are usually investing in us is a lot, and it takes a good amount of people's budget. Some of these other brands, I should say that, there's a lot more that they're trying to extract out of it. Instead of just kind of letting us do our thing, they have these very particular things that they want. But again, It goes back to signage, deliverables. One of these brands may want a series of infotainment where they really want to educate the consumer on their product, right? Like an NGK, for instance. It's not a product that's really easy to show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's an unsung hero, a badass, much needed part, but it's inside the motor.
Yeah.
So they're going to want some more focused video stuff that we can talk about the product and things like that.
Yeah. And
so
benefits of it, stuff like that.
I guess that's my long-winded way of saying everybody's different. And it goes back to what that partner's goals are and what their needs are for that particular contract year.
Yeah.
And then developing out the plan to execute on it.
Well, speaking of Ford, just to touch on some of your own stuff
Speaking
going
of Ford,
on.
as a trailer full of Mustang shows
Oh,
up.
yeah. Wish we had a camera. Take a video real quick. How many of those do you get in a week?
I don't know the answer to that. It depends. We'll do about 100 builds here, and then we have our other plants that build cars. We'll do, last year we did close to 400. This year we'll do 5. So, it depends. Like they come in waves. It just depends on how production's going. Sometimes we'll get 25 show up in a day, 50. So yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, tell me about this
Mustangs on
EcoBoost.
Mustangs.
Tell me about this EcoBoost. I want to hear about it. I love the engine platform that it's really growing as an engine platform.
Yeah.
Not just in Ford realm, but outside of it.
Yeah. So I can't talk too much about the EcoBoost Mustang RTR that we just announced. What I can tell you is that it is the absolute baddest ass turbocharged Mustang that Ford have ever produced. My team and I, including Chelsea, including Adam, had a hand in the engineering. We've got some Dark Horse chassis components that are in it. I did let the cat out of the bag that it's going to have anti-lag. And beyond that, all I can really say is what was seen is that obviously there's, RTR wheels, our grille lights, and things that you can expect to see from us from an aesthetic side. Okay. And I'm excited for everyone to see what we've done with the interior and the software and some really cool stuff that we did with Ford and push them. They allowed us to push them out of the box. And the chief engineer, Lori Transu, she's such a rock star. And, there's processes and things and people, sometimes it's just hard to get things across the line in big corporations. And she's just such a rock star and just feeling our passion. And, awesome. And we've made something very, very special. So I'm extremely excited for that to come out. It's a complement to the spec vehicles that we build. The biggest thing for me, a couple things. I believe EcoBoost is extremely underrated.
Oh, yeah.
But I wanted this car to be accessible. I wanted it to be affordable, to the audience that I reach and the audience that loves drifting.
Do you know the starting MSRP for it?
I can't speak to that, but okay. I can say if you look at what EcoBoost are, it's going to be in that range.
Relatively close.
Yeah. Cool. They've not announced pricing, which is why I don't know the answer, but I do know, it's not going to be in the V8 price range. Right. It's going to be a very big differentiator for people to be able to afford it. That's going to be epic. Yeah, and it works so good. It just works.
Why anti-lag?
Are you excited by anti-lag?
Yeah, I am, but it's so ironic that because I just made a reel about anti-lag when I had my tuner on recently, and Denofa commented on it, and he hates anti-lag. Yeah. So it's knowing that you just mentioned Denofa was a part of the process.
Denofa would rather have nitrous. He would rather have nitrous than anti-lag. But at the end of the day, why do you have anti-lag? It's so that you have the throttle response when you go back to the throttle. Yeah. Right? So I knew it was possible because they have some anti-lag strategies in other vehicles. The Ford GT had an anti-lag strategy. And I knew that it was possible. And it was something that I kind of begged them for after doing some testing. As you know, right, there's a drift mode. Yeah. Right? So,
that's the first car to incorporate anything like that, right? Like the Mustang is?
Yeah. Electric that's what I thought. Drift brake that you turn on. Yeah. And so I can't get the weeds, and we can circle back when the car gets fully announced because I'd love to tell you exactly why and when and all the
drop it in the
details of
comments if you want me to come back and do an episode when it comes out.
Or I'll just have you come and drive the car. That would even be better, right? For you to just experience it. But it's very special. You know, the special thing is when I started RTR, it was a passion because I felt Mustang was losing its cachet with our generation.
Okay.
When I got my 05 Mustang, we went and bought it from a dealer for $5,000 over sticker, and we went to go hook it up and personalize it and make it speak to me, right? Which I'm most of you. At the time, everything that I could buy for that car was what I felt my father or grandfather would want.
Yeah.
And I was like, of course, no one cares about this car. Or our generation doesn't care about this car anymore. And I realized that was because of the perception of what I was seeing like an owner did with the car. It was just turned off. You know, I was more attracted to the import scene, and that vibe and that presence of those vehicles really spoke to me. And so that was when I just...
So is that where a lot of your like design like ideas come from? Is a lot of Japanese stuff?
It's Japanese and European car culture. Like I was
Really?
not
That's
ever
so
like
cool.
a really hardcore muscle car guy. You know, my dad was a muscle car guy. Do I respect them? Yes, but I gravitated towards imports. That's why I had an S13. That's why I got my first S13. I love that car, and I didn't get that for drifting. I bought that because a friend bought it, crashed it, and I just thought it was a cool car. Mm-hmm. And then I learned of drifting when I was fixing that up. Anyway, back to the RTR is, you know, so that's what started it, was just a passion to make Mustangs relevant and cool to this generation. And when I got that car, I was laughed at in drifting. People were like, you're going to bring that big thing out here against these, you know, nimble cars. And then that first year in 05, we debuted it. I won the USA versus Japan, you know, and that was one of the biggest things for me ever, you know, to this day, a huge moment for drifting in America.
That's so crazy, dude. Love it. Well, before we have to close this out or anything, I want to ask about the Jordan Sanderson he's jumping into an RTR car and everything now and starting to move into the Australian market. What is your idea or goal behind this? Yeah.
So Jordan actually reached out to us. And I get people reaching out all the time. But
sure.
he was, there was something about him and his approach, and that he was as serious and meant business. And, you know, I accepted a call with him and we chatted, and I really liked his vibe in general, his personality. I saw some videos of him. He's got great style behind the wheel and very much fits the brand from all those realms. He comes from motocross. He barefoot water skis. Like he's a freaking nut. So yeah, we basically worked it out to build him a chassis, rolling chassis, and then give him the support and recipe to finish the rest of it where he's at. And for us, you know, we have a program in New Zealand with Fang and Dan, which has done really well for us. And it's time to go into the Australian market and to have a driver that has the capabilities and you know, some good relationships and things like that for us to leverage over there was a good opportunity. So we brought Jordan on. He's a satellite program for us. We're going to be doing the design for him, liveries, helping him with technical stuff, and helping him do the thing. And he's, growing his motorsports business. And now RTR is at the forefront of that.
Awesome. He seems like a good dude. So
I'm
excited to see how that goes.
Yeah, he's super cool. Good driver. There's not a lot going on the competition side of Australia right now. But he's got a weapon for when he does want to compete or things pop up, and a lot of demos and a lot of content and cool things, cool events that he's going to be doing out there. So I'm stoked for it.
Awesome, man. You want to hit some rapid fire questions from the audience?
Let's do it.
All right. I'll ask you this one, but
I'll go. Let's go.
How do I get a job at RTR? This is from Jake Collier.
Well,
sorry if I butcher your name.
Yeah. How do you get a job at RTR? You have something to offer us, and you connect on our website and send an email with your resume and tell us why you want to work here, and keep an eye for jobs that we need.
Cool. I assume those are posted.
Yeah,
on
we'll
the
post them
website,
out
too.
on social, or they go on a lot of the job places, and
Oh, like ZipRecruiter and all that stuff.
yeah, I'm pretty
too?
sure
Oh,
we
wow.
put them all out. Yeah,
Damn,
we're,
that's cool.
We're a company. We like to find humans.
True. Fair point. Fair point.
But yeah, we use, sometimes we use headhunters if it's specialized. But to be honest, we attract a lot of great people just by that.
awesome.
Walk in the door and, hey, I want to sweep your floor.
Yeah.
But, obviously,
Instead of asking the question through me, just physically asking
Right.
yourself, come through the door.
Reach out. We have ways to reach us on the website.
Yeah.
So, but always look into even if it fills our file drawer of resumes, good people that are prospects, because we are growing.
All right. Diesel, whatever. Even with your incredible skill level, is there ever a time the car either outperforms you or surprises you?
That's a good question.
That is a good one.
Is there a time that the car outperforms me or surprises me? Surprises, no, because I'm always responsible when I have a surprise, right? Either I'm slow or I missed the mark or I've freaking started to daydream in the middle of going 100 miles an hour sideways. So that's usually on me. Outperforms me. I think that we're always trying to extract every bit of performance out of the car. And sometimes when we get it wrong, meaning the setup wrong, it can outperform me.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right? Too fast, too much to handle, too much for the track, on kill mode, can't adjust behind a chase driver because we got too greedy with setup. Those kind of things is when the car's outperforming me.
Cool.
But again, it goes back to being our fault.
Right. Always. Everything's your fault.
Yeah.
Always. And then Dustin Keene, when is the early Falcon S197 coming back? And the story behind the RTR X, my favorite car ever.
There's a ton of stuff on the RTR X online, but maybe we need to do something fresh for new people. I shouldn't say new people. I should say people that have evolved into the sport.
Scream it in the comments if you need to.
S197, we're working on getting that back together. My goal is for this year to do a comparison between that car and current cars. I'm curious what you guys think will happen in the battle. I want to do all the challenges.
Yeah.
I want to do the 0 to 60s, all the things, drag racing, and then I want to do tandem battles and see how it ends up. We'll put them on the same tire to make that at least equal, but it is going to be absolutely eye-opening.
Cool.
What that looks like, I think.
Awesome. I got my own personal one real quick that I just thought of. On Mustangs, solid axle or IRS?
For drifting?
Yeah.
So the straight axle, from a competitive and ease of making work, is easier.
That's what I've heard.
Performance wise, when you maximize it, we have with our cars, I wouldn't take our cars over a straight axle now. Mm-hmm. But for the grassroots guy that's thinking about how to be the most competitive without having, a proper team or and I don't even know what other parts are available. So if the S650 or that 550, that chassis in general has parts, you can make that car amazing, obviously. We don't sell our parts, so I'm saying I just don't know what else is out there. But from an S197, there's millions of companies out there, not millions, but there's many that are selling drag racing parts. Mm-hmm. All we're doing is drag racing sideways, right? Forward bite and side bite.
True.
At the end of the day, that's what drifting is. And so you just need the tools to adjust the car. And so a straight axle is very simple, right? You got pinion angle, you got lower arm angles, and then you got your shocks controlling it. You're not messing with camber, you're not messing with toe, you're not messing with nothing unless you do something to make that happen. So it's stupid simple straight axle. So you ask for ease, that would be the easiest.
Cool. Perfect answer. Okay, and then Isaac Nichols says, let's get some good anti-squat answers, please. How to keep up with an FD team logistics, too.
Anti-squat answers.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a big one.
Yeah, so, anti-squat is a tool that you use in the car, right? For those of you that don't know, right, having anti-squat is basically setting up your suspension geometry to push the tires down versus allowing the chassis to squat down. And when you push the tires down, then you get grip. Now, the thing with anti-squat is that it is instant, right? So you lift off throttle and get back on the throttle. That's your instant squirt, but it falls off.
Yeah.
And so you want the right amount of anti-squat that you need for the job. Some tracks, we want more anti-squat, right? Tracks that are like short turn to short turn to short turn, you want to get the dig out of the hole. Long turns, you want the grip over the duration versus just getting it and then it planing off. So you need to use your anti-squat wisely. If you look back at our car, like 2015, 16, 17, when we were doing crazy three-wheeling and the car was everywhere.
Yeah, the rear
that was like to make the tire that we had at the time work. That was the old Nitto N205.
Oh, okay.
When we first got with Nitto. So from like 2012 to 16, 17-ish, before we got the NT555 G2, we were using anti-squat hard. Okay. And you guys saw it. It was crazy. It was hard to drive, but it was fast and we made it work. And that's how we made the tire work. So anti-squat is a key to when you don't have the tire that you need to do the job. It helped us be fast enough to win.
Yeah. Is there any chassis that you would say anti-squat is probably a bad idea?
I don't believe so, because I just look at cars from it's 4 tires and a steering wheel.
Right.
Right. So I don't think so, unless it was like extremely, if it could only be extremely short bit, right? Because again, it's about duration, right? And so like if there was a car that had like extremely short arms, I mean, the Mustang has short arms, but it's like would just be a hit and then it wouldn't go anywhere. I would say you may not be able to use the anti-squat. But again, the principle of it. The other thing too, when you have a lot of anti-squat in the car, it's really hard to drive. Because on throttle, you have grip, but off throttle, the car just unloads. I mean, literally, the handbrake unloads the car. Yeah. So it really messes with people's timing, and it's something you really have to adapt to. But that's what makes a driver, being able to drive the car that is needed to do the job at any given track.
Right.
We rarely have the same car showing up at the track, and so. Those first couple laps are just feeling what you got and then putting together how to use it,
That's so cool.
So, it's a tool. It's a tool just like anything else. And I know it's a big word and people are like, what is it? How do you use it? But try it.
Yeah. Absolutely. I've never really dabbled with it that much. My setup is more for looks rather than functionality.
Sure. And that's okay.
But yeah,
that's totally fine. And I understand people doing that. And that's the sport. And if you're grassroots, just sliding around to have fun, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If you're trying to win, you need physics on your side. And dump cars with no suspension travel can't win.
True. True.
And now, some of these cheater, crazy tires that are coming out, you might be able to get away with it.
Dude, I tried those, what are they? The Valino 08 RSs or something. Grippiest tire I've ever tried in my life.
Yeah, I've heard crazy things about them. Not a tire you would ever drive on your car on the street from a roadworthy perspective, but for drifting, and if you just don't want to do any suspension work and you just want to be fast, you might be able to bolt a set of those on. But.
Right. Hell yeah. Okay, and then I'm not even going to try and butcher your name. I'm sorry. Have you ever thought about building your own track?
I've thought about it many times. I kind of have one here at the lab.
I was about to say, yeah.
But what I've learned is that even if I had a track, you would think, I got a racetrack. I can go play all the time.
Yeah.
Ask Garrett how much he goes and just plays on his racetrack. Because you're so busy doing all the other things to even have the racetrack. It's not like you just get to go have fun with it. So I prefer to just show up to other people's scenarios.
Yeah, take advantage of everyone else's track.
And leave. It's like for people that don't like kids. It's like, I don't really want kids, but I like them. But I get to leave my nephew and niece at home.
That's what I say. I love kids as long as they're not mine.
Yeah, so that's me with racetracks right now until one pops up down the road and I'm just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Opportunities there.
You never
like,
know.
all right.
I got my eyes on this spot here if they ever sell this building with all this asphalt.
Yeah.
We don't need racetracks. That's the cool thing about drifting. You just need a lot.
Let's get back. Yeah.
Choose your own adventure,
Oh, yeah. Okay. Underworld J, this is actually my tuner. Sorry, I know you asked like 6 different questions, but I'm going to pick one of them. What it was like being on Rob Dyrdek's Fantasy Factor.
Oh, that was sick. Huge.
By far my favorite show growing up.
Huge lover of Rob Dyrdek. Just a great human. And the dream that I had to build a skateboard car, which I still have, by the way.
That's cool.
Thank you, Adam at Rev Auto, for storing it for the past 10 years. I went to Rob and I'm like, yo, I got this idea. And he's like, dude, let's do it. And everything worked. You know what I mean? It all worked.
It was
wild. It was epic. It was one of the most fun things I've ever done. Like what you saw in that video, which you can see it on, it's on YouTube. There's some really bad clips of it. But Rob and I had such a blast. And the only thing that we didn't do that day that we wanted to do was kickflip, which he later did kickflip car.
Yeah.
We saw that stunt from a James Bond movie. And it was something we talked about. We just couldn't get it done.
That's so cool. What did you ever learn anything marketing wise from him?
No,
throughout the years knowing him?
No, I learned
so
a lot from
smart.
Ken. It wasn't marketing wise, but Ken was a mentor of sorts to me where, high level business stuff I would call Ken and get his perspective and his experience because he certainly, he's the OG when it comes to this stuff. So he was, rest in peace. But huge for me and some of my business prowess.
Last one we'll go with, has Formula Drift been romanticized to the point where people think it's easy to get into?
I think that is a great question. And what we were talking about earlier about the reality that anyone that gets a drift car thinks they can go get a partnership or ask people for something. Yes, I think it's all been romanticized and it looks easy, because you see people in their stock car going and linking a track or the sport to the untrained eye, if you're just linking a course, you're drifting, you're good. But the level of precision, consistency, and abilities of the drivers is just another level. And it takes a driver to understand that.
Absolutely.
What it takes to run the programs, the teams, the funding, all of that is another level. And it takes experience to understand that. So is it romanticized? Like people are like, I don't know that that's the word, but absolutely it's just a ignorance.
Yeah.
Right? I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just like, you don't know what you don't know. And so when you see, you go to your local grassroots track day and there's guys drifting the bank, and you go to Irwindale and there's guys drifting the bank, to the untrained eye, it's like, oh, they're drifting. Oh no, that guy is 100% throttle with 1,500 horsepower. And if he lifts off the throttle, he's literally going to smash his car. Yeah. It's gone.
He might.
Right? Whereas the guy in Grassroots, he's picking up throttle, lifting his car's floating everywhere. It's all easy to drive. And the other guy's like, oh, this car's trying to kill me, in FD. So it's just different. It's just different. But at the end of the day, I'm happy for anyone to be doing anything behind the wheel because it is something that has just brought me so much joy in my life. And that is my passion, to inspire people to get behind the wheel and have fun. And I hope that cars and automotive world can be at least 10% fulfilling to others as it has been to me. Because it's
awesome.
All I've ever wanted, all I ever dream of. I mean, I'm just the kid that started with Hot Wheels and now I'm playing with big Hot Wheels.
You stay so humble about it all too. It's really cool.
I appreciate that, man.
So, well, we'll get you out of here. I know you got to go. I really appreciate the time that you let me come out and take over some space. And
hell yeah,
it's what you got going on here. But yeah, I really appreciate it, dude. That's all we got. So I'll see you each and every Sunday for a brand new episode. Thanks.
Sick, y'all. Thank you.
Staying way up to the ceiling. Trust no bitch, can't catch no feelings. I've been taking long flights from the Bay to Ibiza. Hit home runs, I'm a ball like Jeter. I just want fuck, then I leave her. I'm a young pop star, call the boy Justin Bieber. Got a little money, if you want, I can teach you. Whole life a movie, you can watch it in theater. Staying way up to the ceiling. Trust no bitch, can't catch no